A traveler stumbled upon a vast forest between him and his goals. Hesitantly, he stepped over the border of the familiar land and entered a dark, cold forest, where the stars that used to align themselves at night to guide the way were now blocked by the thick branches of the trees. The paths there did not announce themselves, and every step carried the question of whether or not it would hold. Change. Something that most people hate but are forced to accept. Something that defines who we are moving forward, and something that we can't run from. Growing up, I had been pushed into many situations where I had felt helpless and isolated. Having the nationality of Hong Kong but growing up in mainland China, Hong Kong culture has always had a significant impact on my life. Growing up in mainland China, the city, the people, and the culture defined who I was. These things to me felt inseparable. I went to the same school with the same people, played in the same parks, and walked on the same streets. For it felt like the entirety of my life, I never thought of the possibility that these pillars of normality would cease to exist. That is until when my parents decided to move us back to Hong Kong when I was in grade 5. My whole life changed. I had to part ways with friends, family, and the familiar city, and before I even knew it, I found myself in a new environment that felt just about familiar but not familiar enough. I was faced with a city full of cars driven on the right-hand side, traditional Chinese characters, and a whole new language. School went from a happy place full of familiar friends and teachers to a foreign territory full of unknowns. With a new, heavy workload that had just felt like a boulder had just dropped onto my back, with 8 classes a semester, added with the intensity of the IB curriculum, had devoured me into a constant chase for upcoming assignments, tests, and deadlines. Every day I struggled to complete these assignments on time, with many of my teachers writing home to my parents, raising awarenesses and concerns about my ability to, quote, fit into my new environment. But most importantly, I found myself in a confusing position where I share the same nationality with everyone, but I don't share the culture, where I look like everyone else, but I don't speak like everyone else. I felt hopeless, like I was drowning into the fast currents of a river with my hands and feet bound behind my back. Peers made fun of the way I tried to speak Cantonese and called me Da Lok Zai, which meant mainland kid. Getting made fun of the way that I wore my uniform and grades was like a daily reminder that I was constantly sticking out like a sore thumb. But as the days went by, I made a promise to myself that I would fight for the success that I aimed for. Our story goes on, as the traveler traverses through the forest, fear follows him at first. But as he learns to slow down, he listens and trusts each careful step forward. Nelson Mandela once said that life is a series of ups and downs, and it's in our resilience and our ability to get back up after every setback where our true strengths shine. So I started making organized calendars, planning each assignment and managing my time wisely, while also learning Cantonese from daily interactions, from taxi drivers to neighbors, from peers to strangers on the streets. I had familiarized myself with the customs of Hong Kong and the traditions and philosophies that had felt once so daunting to me. And as time went by, the motivation to improve myself carried through. Those unfamiliar faces slowly became friends. The workload felt more manageable, and communicating felt like an extended ability that I had formed. But like all things goes, just as I thought I got the hang of things, in a blink of an eye, COVID had hit. And like most people, I was stuck in my room behind a computer screen, questioning whether or not we would make it. The skills that I had fought so hard to achieve felt all useless. And then the warmth that I had collected from the now familiarized city got colder and colder, until I felt like I was at the beginning once again. Days felt like months, and months felt like years. My motivation to do anything felt like a damp match that was not ignitable no matter how hard I strived. But with the vast amount of time I had being stuck at home during COVID, I started to reflect on what I truly enjoyed doing before coming to Hong Kong. I realized that sports and exercises has always been a big part of my life, and it constantly gave me something to look forward to. And so, under my own reflection, I started doing exercises and daily meditations to try to find peace from within the chaos. And surprisingly, it worked. Through every workout that I did, every drop of sweat, and every ounce of zen that I gained from meditating, I found more clarity in the midst of the pandemic. And it occurred to me that no matter how big of a disaster the world around me was, that I was still able to find peace from within. So I thought to myself, I can't be the only one struggling with these problems. There must be other people all around the world that struggle with this. So I decided to design an app called Motivate, which stood for More Motivation. On this app, you go on to do daily exercises and meditations like I would do, but in return, you gain points that you can redeem real-life items with on an online shop. And through presentations to teachers, peers, and families all around the community, this quickly became a success, as over 100 of my friends and over 300 people all around the community saw this to be the light at the end of a dark tunnel. The story continues. As a traveler got used to the dark, he taught himself patience and resilience. And by stepping into the dark, he was able to discover skills that he did not know he possessed. He was able to create his own light in the dark. And when it came time for my family to move to Canada, I found myself in a similar situation once again, parting ways with people, culture, and language. But this time, I was able to see the positive side of things. Being in a new city means meeting new people, experiencing new things, and finding new opportunity. I met a number of people that I shared the same energy with, and like a spider building a web, one friend quickly became two, and two became four. And before I even knew it, I had a whole circle of connections. Finding new friends, I also discovered my love for music, and I formed a band with my friends. Together, we perform at senior homes, restaurants, and even law firm parties, expressing from within what defined us to others. I also joined a club pushed by my friends, and I got to know everyone in it, and we run fundraising events and activities, and also volunteer at the food bank sometimes. I realized that in order for change to truly manifest, I had to step into the unknown, but that doesn't mean I have to let go of what I had before. Change, something that most people hate but are forced to accept, something that defines who we are moving forward, and something that we can't run from. If you ever felt afraid of change and the unknown, remember this, that by stepping into the darkness, you're able to ignite the path to your own future and create your own light in the dark. And finally, as for our traveler, as he exits the forest, he's greeted with bright sunshine. He finds himself no longer in need of the old stars to guide his ways, but he's able to treat new environments as opportunity rather than torment. Darkness is not the absence of direction, but the space in which navigation is formed. Thank you.